Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second special Q&A episode that we have done. We have a lot of fun prepared tonight. It will be a nice laid-back episode. You won't have to worry about any of the normal campaign stuff if you're familiar with what we do. If you're not, and it is the first time, our group is called Trials of Imagination. We are a group of nerds and friends that like to play Dungeons and Dragons and also stream it for all of your lovely entertainment, if we can call it such. We also put it on YouTube after the fact so that if you cannot watch it live, you are able to watch it whenever you want within the realm of your own schedule at your own leisure. So there is that. Normally, we do not engage with chat a whole lot because we have a limited time frame and we're doing role playing and all these sort of really specific things that everybody's having to think about. We don't want to distract, but these things right here, these Q&A episodes, are where we throw all of that aside and we say, nope, we're doing the opposite of that. This is when we inherently do pretty much nothing but talk to chat. So if you are the people that like that type of thing, this is your night. We are here for it. We have a few announcements before we get started and go head first into it. And for starters, if you've been here for a while, if you're new, you might notice the visuals look a little different. That's because it's just the Q&A and we always have a different number. So instead of having to adjust cameras around to fit like specific cubicle areas on overlays and stuff, I just capture the Discord window and call it a day. So right now I just have mine on, and whenever we get done with the video, I'll pull everybody else in and you'll just see kind of exactly what we see whenever we're talking to each other, which is whatever Discord looks like. So we have a new emote finally of one of the ones that you guys in all of your crazy nonstop madness support allowed us to achieve. So if you would like and you are subbed, there is a new one you can locate in there, which is considered the crit emote. It looks a little like this for everyone in chat. I'll go ahead and throw it, which is our lovely little Miller jumping out of a pile of bones and in a very happy, smiley fashion saying crit. So if at any point we have some crits down the road in future streams, feel free to let those fly, or for nonsensical reasons, which is typically what emotes are for, feel free to do that too. And maybe down the road we'll figure out a way to incorporate that in merch or something. I don't know. So yeah, so that's awesome. Thanks to you guys for all of your support, because you are the people that made that happen in the first place. So special thanks to that. Another thing I just had to do it. We have like a lot of stuff on our new merch store. So if you haven't seen it, !merch in the chat, and it'll get you a link to that. But I had something I wanted to do because this is from our old one, but this right here, I almost spilled my sweet tea from my mic. Good job. This is from our new one. Yeah, got the condensation over it. There we go. Filled with sweet tea right now, and this is our lovely TOI glass. Came out really nice. Looks good. Drinks good, got a good weight to it. It doesn't feel like cheap glass, like it's kind of like a heavy glass, and it's great. How many subs to unlock one of those? I mean, Dirk, we'll talk about it, because at this point I don't even know what to do with you. So we'll figure out something there. But it's really cool. It turned out really good. I'm very happy with it, so I can at least vouch for that this class from the merch store is great. Love it and highly recommend it. So if you want it, it's there. As we said, this tonight is the Q&A episode, and it's just going to be the 4 players. So our players SJ, who plays Ayla, and our player Liam, who plays Mark, will have the night off. We want our Q&As to be kind of nice and condensed to where it's not spread out too much, so we have time to answer stuff, and also it allows us to give some players a week off, spend time with family or friends, or chill here, do whatever they want to do. It's up to them, but they don't have to be in front of a camera for at least this week, which is nice to have sometimes. So yeah, so we're about to dive straight into some Q&A, have some fun, laughs, chat, just get ready, throw as many questions as you would like. That's what we're here for tonight, just to have some fun. And yeah, without further ado, let's hit this intro video, and we'll dive headfirst into our second edition of the Q&A for Trials of Imagination. Stick around. And hello, everybody. We can get the D&D logo out of here now. Whoop, whoop. Welcome to our second edition of the Q&A. We're going to have a good time tonight. I'm going to get some ridiculous, stupid, silly music in the background just so we have something going there. It'll be kind of tucked, so, it won't be too big of a deal. So first things first, we have a sub-only channel in the Discord for anyone that is gracious enough to subscribe to the channel and wanted to do something nice for those folks. So we wanted to give them first dibs to the questions tonight. So we have a couple of questions that we're going to get started with that are from our lovely subscribers. So we'll do that first, and then we're going to open it up to more of everybody else here. So one of the questions which we had, actually, several of these questions we had last time. So apparently these are things people really want to know. It's just different people asking them. And we do have two members here for the Q&A that were not here last time. So we have a chance to give the same answer or different answers. But what we will get started with is a question that is, if you were to make a character sheet of yourself, what would your race, class, and stats be? Now, that last part's a little lengthy, so I'm going to reduce that to say dump stat. So just pick the one dump stat you'd kind of lock it down into. And if anyone would like to volunteer to go first, go for it. If you don't want to, I'll roll dice and make somebody. So, whatever.
I like that latter idea because I have no idea.
Well, if somebody does know, go for
D&D,
it.
man. Roll the dice.
Oh, okay.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. Roll the dice.
Where's a D4 when you need one?
See, he's not making
Roll
us
the
roll
D8
dice. We're
divided by
making
2.
him roll dice.
Found it. Okay. I'll do it alphabetical.
That's
It's 2. So, Becky.
Okay, so last time I had said half-elf Fey Wanderer, and I was like, I'll give a different answer this time. We were just talking about this in a servers the other day, and Rogerson said that I was an elf druid paladin, and I kind of dig that. Like, he gave a whole reason why, and I like that reason. I think my dump stat, though, unfortunately for paladin, I guess because there's a dex paladin, because I feel like my dump stat would be strength. So.
Paladins can be good with bows.
I can lift my cat. That's about it.
Hey, if it's a girthy cat, I mean, it's
My
nothing to
biggest
scoff
one's
at.
17 pounds. My biggest cat's 17 pounds, so he is.
See? It's a big cat. It's a good answer. All right. Let's lava.
Oh, yay.
Good answer.
I know. I have no idea what race it'd be or class. I just pulled the player's handbook up.
I'm not sighing at you. I'm sighing at chat, throwing out a plethora of gift subs again.
Ohio Rider, thanks. I
Just
clicked off the stream to be noticed so I could read the races. I would probably be.
Not
I-
to be outdone.
Yeah. If I remember correct, I remember
Those are
taking a
tier
quiz or
twos.
something like this.
The heck?
If I remember correct, I did a
Crit.
quiz for this
Yeah, crit.
at one
Crit
point, and I
attack.
got like I think it was variant human bard with a dump stat and wisdom, but I don't like that idea. I would much rather be a dragonborn, specifically the red dragonborn, probably.
Okay.
With the ranger class, the dragonborn ranger, with a dump stat and probably intelligence. I am a dragonborn ranger. Battlemaster, they're stubborn and.
All right. I like it. And then
Liam
there-
says he'd be a dragonborn battlemaster because they're stubborn and have some attitude
next
with a
one.
dump set of charisma.
Next one is Mr. J.
50-50. I would probably say a halfling because I'm pretty short in real life. Sorcerer. Just because sorcerers are typically the class that don't typically have like a focus, or they're known for not being focused in a lot of situations. Like they'll just pick a bunch of random spells. That's kind of like what I've done in life. Pick a bunch of random skills and stuff to specialize in. And my dumb stat would probably be Constitution. I'm a very frail person. Not
Interesting choice.
not for eating lots of different foods, you know.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like you know yourself pretty well, all things
Yeah.
considered.
I
There's-
also had to look at the player's handbook to look up all the classes.
As we all do. We're not even going to front.
You know what?
All right.
I'm just gonna grab all my handbooks for these
Last but
questions,
not
and it's all
least-
gonna be like this.
Mr. Ricardo,
I believe I said Bard last time, didn't I?
you did.
It seems like, I mean, that's the obvious choice because,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But race-wise, I would like Azamar because that's just cool. But I'm not that exciting, so it would probably just be variant human because I'd try to power game it as much as I could, and multi-class into paladin a bit. Smack you with my righteous furious notes.
With your
And the
righteous
jump stat
riffs.
would likely be wisdom because I would think I was giving you great life advice, and it would actually just be horrible.
Oh, very specific.
Hey, yeah, I had time to think about this afternoon.
That's a good answer, though. I always like those questions. Those are always interesting. And I can't remember. We talked about this last time. That like, because I even asked, like, I think I asked you to do mine for me, and it was like a multi-class.
I said the same
of-
thing.
Yeah, same. It was
Paladin,
like
source, or Paladin Bard.
Paladin Bard. Like we have to inevitably be Bard because of our music background, basically. But like, there's also so many things of Bard. We're just like, no, just no, let's not. But yeah, probably that. As far as like race, I don't. Heck, if I know, Asmar would be balling, but I'm not cool enough for that, or epic enough for that. Probably the exact same thing Richard said. Like, just variant human. We're just trying to be cool and just succeeding like 1/10 of the time.
I mean, realistically, you have to say the same thing I did because you're just a younger me.
Yep, pretty much.
Matt and I are reflections of each other in many, many ways.
Wait till winter, and you're not even gonna be able to tell us apart. Pretty much, other than just our head. That's about
Yes.
it, because we both
Yeah.
have beards.
Hair.
Heads are normally how you tell people apart.
That's fair.
Wait,
All right.
really?
Yeah.
Question number 2 from our lovely sub channel, which is, to me, could be an interesting one because it refers to the situation of your current campaign with the characters you have. And it says, if you had to choose a new class, but just class, so you kept the race that you had, what would you pick and why? So then, let's say within the confines of the Curse of Strahd campaign.
Look up.
And So that's actually right back to Richard.
Say the question for me one more time. I was reading chat, if I'm honest.
You're fine. If you had to choose a new class for this campaign, but not a race, just you kept the race you have, so you're a variant human, but you have a new class. What would you choose and why? Based on what you know of the campaign so far.
Probably an armorer artificer. Because
Ooh.
I like tanks. They make really good tanks, and I think artificers are really cool.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, artificers are
Pretty
cool.
straightforward answer. I think they're just really cool as a concept, and the armorer is my favorite one, just because it's so easy to build into just a monstrous tank.
Right, they are.
Literally, because your builds are your spellcasting, basically.
That is Jay. Same question.
Yeah, sure. I figured we'd just go in reverse order.
I was just rolling a dice again, so it was just random.
I'd probably pick fighter for Millard as a character. It was kind of like my other option when I was creating the character. Not that kind. It's got swords and stuff. I guess it just has a lot of flexibility. And I know people think fighters as boring kind of characters when it comes to D&D, but they're also the most versatile in a lot of ways. Like you can build them any way you want, and they're not tied down too much. That's kind of what. It also fits pretty well with his backstory.
I've
as
come
being
to
a
the
sailor.
I've come to the conclusion that at least in 5e, it seems like there's no real boring like base options left. Like it's whatever you make of it at this point.
Yeah,
Because like there's so many options with different things. It's like if it's boring, I feel like that's almost more on you as a player than with.
I would also probably say that Millard would be a little bit more brash as a fighter. He would be more gung ho.
Because he will be has the stats to get a lot more up in there.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. That would be. We almost went in reverse. Bex.
I don't know if the answer, I feel like, cause, like y'all saw Elbreth, as a paladin, but I feel like, right now, if I were to need to change it, I feel like cleric because I've got the cleric-y subclass of warlock, so.
Okay.
Not another bardlock?
I mean,
Bard lock. Oh gosh, what an atrocity!
Oh man, I
against
should have come up with that.
yeah, he's because I've twice built bards and they both have like eventually turned into bard locks because then I was just like
bump this.
spell slots.
I feel like that's kind of what Millard was getting turned to from Matt.
Oh no. All right, Lava, same question.
Yeah, just hearing that, my brain immediately went either Balasar, or not Balasar, we were talking about the other one before. Nadar would turn into either a fighter, or maybe even Oath of Glory / maybe Oath of Vengeance paladin. Just because Lava becomes a rage. No.
Just more rage.
Because the fighter would be like it's close enough to a barbarian that the only thing that would be changing is his hit points, basically. And the paladin would be Oath of Vengeance would fit into his backstory better, but Oath of Glory, I can also see how I could work that into the backstory.
For glory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See that? That's a good answer.
Kind of needs to amass glory to insert backstory stuff here.
Right.
Make it up.
And then I don't have an answer for this question because I don't have one to begin with. So can't change what you don't have.
If Strahd were a different character,
Idris. That's it, Idris.
You can't change anything about Idris. That's just wrong.
No, but
You can't do that.
You was a play. You kind of made Idris. So that would technically be your character in the campaign, even though you're the DM.
Sure. I would change nothing about Idris. Rest in peace, my brother.
you make him into a mouse.
There you go. And
You revive him as a mouse.
I
and
call him
and
Mr.
have him follow the
Jangles.
party.
You could change Strahd into a harmless bunny.
There you go.
Sure. And then it would just go wrong very fast.
Oh, very, very wrong.
Very. All right. So, last question in the sub chat, and then we'll open it up to the rest of you guys on the Twitch chat. This is one, it's kind of similar to, it's the basic concept of one we had last time as well, which is, in what ways, if any, does streaming the game change the way that you play and approach D&D? And I guess we will continue to roll randomly.
RNG, you know?
That is Bex.
Wow, I haven't started once yet.
Give it time.
I don't know. Lava, you want to go first?
I can start.
Go for it.
Some good thoughts on this.
Go for it.
I would say I probably try to make more humorous moments than I normally would in a D&D campaign.
Well, you
just to
succeed.
Just to get chat to have something to like
Yeah.
think about or something that sticks out. I try to make more creative moments instead of when I normally play off stream.
Right.
It's more of a slow build up and burn instead of these little spurts of like humor or action
Yeah.
or something memorable. It's
mean-
usually more like building a story, and letting the small character moments develop instead of trying to force them.
So you mean you wouldn't normally light your pants on fire and jump out a window?
No, that's not something. But it was definitely fun.
Oh gosh, one of the highlights so far.
Yeah,
By far.
I would probably also make a less eccentric character in general,
That's fair. That's kind of,
especially for this campaign.
that does kind of hold true with entertainment. You kind of have to like ramp up a little bit if you want entertainment value.
Got to be a little louder.
It gets to the point. Sometimes I get yelled at.
Lava.
How does it change? What was the question again? How does streaming change how I approach D&D?
How you approach the game.
Yeah.
How it changes how you play and approach D&D, knowing that you're streaming.
I wouldn't say it really changes anything because I'm more used to playing in the play-by-post side of the community, so everything's text-based over there.
Mm-hmm.
So over there, like, you can get those funny moments whenever and be loud without literally being loud. So I'm not So streaming is the only way that I'm playing live D&D. So it doesn't change how I approach the game really. Especially when sometimes I'm double dipping, doing a play-by-post while in the middle of a live session,
Sure.
as Bex can attest to having seen me play.
Okay. And
I don't do great. I suck.
nah. And if you're like we all do, basically, we're just here, just having fun. Ricardo, same question.
Last time I remember we talked about this, and I said I really just kind of ignore it. Because to tell the truth, when you first asked me if I was interested in playing this with y'all, I had no idea you were even streaming it. It's like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure.
So I just kind of kept it that way in my mind. But now that Dirk does the epic recaps every week, now I consciously make a point to say something worthy of being in the recap. So it does affect me now. I have altered my play style. It's got to be one Dirk-worthy moment, and then I'm happy.
corrupted by the
Yes.
the Twitch.
All your fault, Dirk. All you.
And I mean, can't even.
Said the real question. Really, so the real question is, how does Dirk change the way you play?
I mean, that's basically what Richard just answered. So, for me, that question's hard and kind of because it's if I were just a player, which is what I was in the last campaign, it really didn't affect me a whole lot because. I mean, Richard's one of my friends in real life that we've known each other for a while. He can tell you what you see is what you get. With me, I don't act any different around anybody. I'm a goober at all times, no matter who I'm in front of. So I will be loud and obnoxious and goofy and stupid no matter what's going on. So
he's telling the truth.
Yeah. So that doesn't really change that. But being a DM and also being the person that is in charge of the stream, there are a few things that I think that side of it does shift what I would be doing if I was, say, in the DM role and not streaming, or if I was, I don't know, like just streaming, like what Emrys did last time. If I was just hosting and like not did, like, obviously there's a lot of different parameters into it, but I'm conscious of it. The fact that we are streaming, so I don't try to let it affect what I do greatly, but I keep it in mind so that I know certain times, kind of to Jay's earlier comment, that since it is like an entertainment thing, I keep it in mind so I know that if I was going to plan to do something one way, I might attempt to elevate it just a hair from whatever my instinct is. It's like just go up just a little bit, if nothing else, for entertainment purposes and to give Chad a good laugh, you know. But other than that, I don't try to let it affect me a whole lot. Like a thing about me, like the Streamlabs has like a view count for it, and I never look at it ever the entire time. So during the streams, unless someone tells me, I have no idea how many people are here, like ever. I don't look at it. I don't want to know. I just want to get in here, do the same job, no matter how many people show up. So that's probably because in the person that asked that questions, to their credit, it's because I think it would affect me and how I'd approach it, because I'd let it get in my head of seeing numbers. So I just try to ignore it altogether. That's a good question.
Can I add one more thing?
Go for it.
And this might not be necessarily because of streaming, but kind of in the way we're streaming. I definitely try to be quicker with my actions because of our time constraints. I would say that has been a bigger factor in saying, like, instead of like really describing the way I do my actions, I'm just like, I do this, and then I try to voice act a lot more of it, where we want to get people talking and get kind of the voice acting going, so it's easier to listen to. 100%.
Yeah. Very accurate, because that is a constant thing, which is ultimately why it'll probably be like a longer campaign than our previous ones, because we want the time for things like that to flesh themselves out naturally. So if we are constantly rushed too much, then, you know, it doesn't get the credit it deserves. And all of the people here did wonderful backstories with all their characters, so like we want to give them as much time as they can to really get into the details of that stuff, which I'm very excited about, because it's all going to be great as it continues to unfold. So that concludes the sub questions that were specific to those guys. Thank you all so much for your support, and you crazy people that added onto it at the beginning of the stream. You're crazy, but we love you all the same. And now we're just going to open it up to chat. So
we've already had 2 questions.
Yeah, I've seen a couple questions on the chat.
Yeah,
great.
I've wrote them down.
Perfect.
The first one, Rogerson asks, do you ever struggle figuring out the voice for your character?
Yes.
How many times has Nadar's voice changed throughout the campaign?
Surely no one's answer to this is no. Like, there's no way. Like, there's got to be something everybody thinks about at some point of trying to rack their brain. Like, what am I going to make?
I'll say I probably practice my voice about like 5 times a week. to see if I like it the way it is or if it needs to change.
Nice.
I want to be doing that. I just always forget because other stuff comes up, and it would be weird for me to be going into Nadar's voice middle of a shift at work.
Nah, just do it. People will accept it.
I mean,
The thing I struggle with the most, though, with the voices is I have a very high voice, and I want a lower voice sometimes, and I just can't hit it.
Yep.
So it's natural impediments.
Yep. Which is very common. I know the feels there. Which I wonder, like, did Richard, did you like look into like a mirror or talking to a microphone for like hours at a time trying to get a Scottish accent before the last episode?
That was I decided. I think you sent out the sheets that morning, and I was sitting at my desk at work, and I pulled up the sheet and I saw his name, and I thought that's a very Scotch-Irish name. So can I do it, laddie? All right. And that's as far as I went with it, and I just decided to wing it because I found if I spend too much time on that, I will overthink it. So it's usually when I overthink it and try too hard, it's worse than if I just butcher it out of the gate.
That's fair.
I just went for it. For Zyle, it was just because his name and skeleton of his character is from a character in a book, and he's not an old man, but he's just a gruff older guy, and he kind of talks like he's got gravel in his throat. So with Zyle, I was like, well, I'll just go deeper and talk like I've got rocks in my mouth, and that was, he was pretty straightforward.
What an interesting image. Talk like you have rocks in your mouth.
Kind of that grindy quality.
Sure. Yeah, like I mean, I know exactly what you mean when you say it.
Yeah.
This is an interesting way to say it, I suppose. Bex, what about you? Do you ever consider any stuff like that with any characters you've done or the one that you're doing now?
Well, as you can tell, I am not doing one now. I know I've tried before with like other things, and I can't. I don't know. I feel like it would probably be better if I did, but like I don't know. Like I've tried with like while DMing, like to just do more exaggerated things, and then otherwise, like anything I try though, it just sounds like me, like being weird. So I don't know. Can't
you
change
really haven't heard my elvish voice.
Yeah, that's one thing where I feel like I don't really have much of a good shot at. I'm not the greatest with a vast amount of accents. I can like mediocrely do a few, which is why it's very beneficial for me that most of Barovia just sounds like a kind of like Transylvanian Slavic type of thing, because it's not that hard of one to do. So that kind of is in my favor there, because that's like that was the only thought I had like before I'd even picked a campaign, because of the last one we did, Jay was the DM and he did all sorts of different accents throughout that, and that was my only thought is when we first did, I was like, okay, well that's not going to happen because I can't do that. So I didn't purposely pick Curse of Strahd just so I wouldn't have to do accents, but thankfully that actually worked out to where I'm not forced in a corner to where I have to do it a whole lot with a bunch of diverse characters. But there's a few things I'll try and do something stupid like a random drunk Southern lady showing up to hit on Millard, or
Southern accents are always easy for us Americans.
Yes,
Everything sounds.
Especially if you were born and raised in Mississippi, it's not the most difficult thing to achieve.
All right.
Exactly. So,
no, I can't do those because I'm from the West Coast. But so that means the one thing I can do, you don't want to have me do it. Wait, listen, I can't do it right now. Like we can do like maybe if like Elbrand sounds more like a Valley girl, then I could do that. But I feel like it'd be super annoying.
Please,
that works. I love it.
Please give me an episode where Elbrand talks like that for some unknown reason.
Put it in print, send it to the copiers.
Yep.
We'll take it.
Do it.
I'll do like a mall episode where the whole party goes to a mall.
No, I think we all like get possessed at one point.
Do it. We'll
And
get
we
10
all
tier
have to
3s out of
change.
it.
We're all Americans.
As long as we convince Liam to change his accent, we'll be good.
I will
Yeah,
happily do Redneck Xyle.
I will. I don't know what specific voice it is, but I've been playing Breath of the Wild on my stream, and whenever I'm wearing Majora's Mask and I'm like interacting with the NPCs, I put on the weirdest voice and just start yelling, "I'm bigger than the gay!" Just like a random hillbilly.
I'm bigger than you.
Nice.
What Russian is like the only voice I kind of need to practice a bit.
Did you, Lav, did you say you had a second question written down as well?
Yes, there was another one that was written down.
I saw that.
The second one is, this one is specifically for the players. Do you guys have backup characters? If so, what's their class/race? If not, what would they be, class and race-wise?
And don't feel obligated to answer that if you want to keep it a secret.
I will say, from our previous campaign, there was the lovable bartender Toblin, and I really thought about bringing him in as a character, as my backup, and he'd probably be a bard.
Of course.
He's good. He goes to lovely Irish accent.
I'm just glad you didn't say George.
And then the other option was bringing Jim back as a fighter or a thief, or a necromancer of some sort.
Yes.
He's got to come back somehow.
Would he just be like constantly scared of everything, just assuming someone's going to shoot an arrow at him for no reason?
His one weakness.
Because,
necromancers or liches, they always got to have that one weakness.
Yeah. That was for those who don't know, that was a character in season 1 that Jade had as just an NPC, and we were talking to him, and then Liam shot him in the knee with an arrow.
No, he didn't shoot him in the knee. He just shot him straight in the chest.
Or was it the chest? For some reason, I thought it was the knee.
No.
Chest. Well,
he didn't specify where he was aiming.
He just shot him with an arrow. We were talking, and then
nope.
He did not deserve it. He did not say a thing.
Nope. Not at all.
I think it was because I vibed just it's only these two. From on top of the room, it's only these two.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
So in fairness, we knew they were
hard.
They were with a clan that was not great people as a clan, basically. So in a way, it wasn't a good guy, but he personally didn't do anything at any point in time. We were just talking. And then arrow. It was I guess we're doing this now. All right. Because there were other people there too, other than just Jim.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was funny. I
haven't figured out what race my backup character would be, but I do know that he would probably be a College of Eloquence bard. Mostly because once he gets that at level 3, I get to treat on persuasion, or no, it's not persuasion. On deception, persuasion. Give me a second. I have this pulled up. College of Eloquence.
I'm pretty sure it's on persuasion.
Yeah, persuasion and deception checks. Anytime I roll a 9 or below, I get to treat that as a 10 before modifiers.
Yep.
Nice. Bex or Richard, the same question if you want to answer it.
I would only figure it out at the time because at any point I could have some room right now, but then when it comes it doesn't matter what I have prepped, it's when the time comes and I need a new character, it's I didn't think of something else at the time. So
nothing specific, you're just kind of just waiting for the right moment.
Just whatever I feel at the time, because I just have so many, and with the having the DM tier subscription, I just keep making a bunch of characters anyway.
It depends who's alive at that point.
It's very true, because you might want to adjust the class for what the group needs. That's true.
I'm pretty set on the backup being College of Eloquence bard though. Even if it doesn't work with the party.
It's even if it's at the detriment of the party, here comes a bard.
Here comes a bard.
Which is a
barbarian.
Which is a very bard thing to do. All things considered.
Yes, but then I put all his stats in strength, or strength is his best with his battle axe.
We had a barbarian, now we just have half of that.
Half of that, and he sings.
Ricardo, same question.
Got a couple actually, and kind of depends on party dynamics. One is a Oath of the Watchers paladin, just because I love the flavor of that. The Watchers on the Rim kind of thing, watching for disturbances from other realms, which would be funny since we're the other realm invaders in Barovia. And another I have would be a Hexblade Warlock, because I'm a sucker for a weapon you can summon.
Accurate. Those are cool characters. I like those a lot.
As far as like a race, probably for the paladin. Hard to say on that. For the warlock, I'd probably stick with variant human again, just so I could get Warcaster out of the gate, because being able to use spells as opportunity attacks and advantage on concentration is
Huge.
Right. Huge.
And as far as backstory of it goes, it would be very easy to figure out a way to say, hey, this is someone who served under Xyle at some point.
It's true.
I can weave that in easily. But class and race, I've got two there.
Yep. I
Just in
definitely the
case.
Hexblade would be cool
I love Hexblades.
in Strahd.
Nice. All
Not
right.
to make any more townspeople afraid of our group.
Just a sword appears out of thin air.
Just keep on escalating it. Just see how that goes. Which brings it to, so I had several questions that I was going to ask as well, and we'll also go through some of our player questions. So we're going to do a roundabout now, where I'll start and we'll go through the four of you to see if any of you have questions you'd like to ask each other or me or anybody, and then we'll cycle right back around to chat. So if anyone does ask questions in chat, if just to keep a note of it so we don't forget them. Did you have something, Lava?
I was about to say, Dirk just asked the question in chat, saying if you were to homebrew a class, what would it be? I'll put that on my list.
Yeah, it's
We
gonna
can
be,
get to that later.
a long potential answer. So yeah, let's keep that one and go back to it. So
Short answer for that one: Garlic Mancer.
I was going to say garlic bread cleric.
all right.
Yeah, or Garlic Cleric. Either one of them.
Has
Perfect.
nothing to do with videos I've watched on YouTube.
per
I've seen those.
the joke that Jay made about just freaking out some of the locals, that's actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask, which I know only one of the two that did that is here. So Richard, it'll fall a little more on you. But I wanted to ask, like, did that ever cross your mind at any point while that interaction was happening, or was it a little like too late that it did, or were you very aware, just didn't care, just kind of went for it?
Run that by me again.
When you were talking to Barnes in Barovia, and you guys were talking to him as if he was just in the know with magic and all these other things, and it was just like, what are you talking about? Did you know early, or did it like not dawn on you until a little bit into the conversation, or like at what point did it kind of sink in that
when I did it and he freaked out, it's like,
whoops.
I made the wrong assumption here.
But then the reason I asked that is because then instead of like backing off, you guys like doubled down and just kept going. Like
You just gotta own it, man.
you just like put your foot on the gas. It was like, all right, well, he's learned about this. Well, guess what? You're about to learn about a lot.
Don't peel the veil back, rip it back.
Just ripped the Band-Aid off. Probably like just went home and cried. Like a man doesn't know what to do with his life anymore. That was an interesting moment. But yeah, so that was just a question of like what was going on in your head with that one. But so roundabout for you guys, and I'll roll some dice to see who gets to ask a question first, to see what you guys would like to ask. That is Lava.
Oh,
It was bound to happen eventually.
it was. And of course, at the time when I'm trying to like kind of keep chat in order rather than thinking of questions.
There you go.
Oh. Hmm. Oh, this is tough. I know. I don't know. I'm not the greatest at just asking questions on the fly.
Yeah.
Like whenever if anyone asks, like at the end, like we like, anyway, any questions? I am never one to put up my hand because it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I have questions.
All right.
That's it.
I mean,
Life of a lava burner.
It's perfectly acceptable to not have a question.
I don't have one right now.
Perfectly acceptable. That is Jay.
Ooh. Think.
Dig.
What do you think has been the most challenging thing in this game for you as a player?
Good question.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first, or do I need to roll?
Or a DM?
All
the
of
most
it.
challenging thing has been. Oh,
Go ahead, Richard.
this is a great example right here. What I was about to say.
Yeah.
It is keeping a conversation flowing because there's that inherent delay, and someone starts talking, and there's two people at the same time. They both drop out. You don't know who needs to pick up and it's hard to keep a natural flow to the conversation
Very.
when playing like we are.
Yep. You almost have to be slightly predictive in what you're doing, in terms of like knowing the other people and kind of having an idea of what they might try to do. And like even then, like you're gonna be wrong sometimes. So it's just, if you happen to be right, then it works really well and it feels smooth. But at least Jay and SJ seem to just throw that like caution to the wind because they just talk over each other and just have at it like their brother and sister nonsense, which is hilarious. Man, what a good question. For me, it's a lot because it's my first time to ever DM and I'm streaming it. So there's a lot of things that are difficult. I'd say like probably overthinking, because as the DM, there's so many like different things that you're trying to keep in one pot, and sometimes by thinking or focusing on too many things that are supposed to be ahead, you might miss what's in the now, and it's a tricky thing to kind of figure out how to do both, because like you, in some regard, you do need to keep your eyes on what's ahead so that you can keep it very smooth and not seeming out of nowhere, like it seems prepared. But you also need to very much be in the moment and make sure to give whatever the players are doing right there, right now, its own due credit. And that's a difficult thing to pull off. And then me just being as new to D&D as I am, also DMing combat can be a lot. That's a lot to take in. Thankfully, for the most part, everyone here has a good grasp of what they're doing. So I get to be a little more of just a referee as opposed to a coach. Because if it was the other way around and like it was nothing but new players, it would potentially be rough. Because I would kind of almost be there with them. I'd be like, I don't know, honestly. Let me pull it up and let's look up the rule and see how this works.
Meanwhile, you have people like me doing that for you mid-session.
Right, which, I mean, like, I don't care, like, how you guys come up with the stuff a lot of times. Like, yeah, sure, just go for it.
Roll for it.
That's a good question. Bex, same question.
I know all of the above. Yeah, I don't know, especially like what Richard was saying. Like that's even harder, like on, like over video versus like when you're at the table. So yeah, trying to like Yeah, because you're trying to like listen. So both of what you guys are saying together, are you trying to listen? You're trying to think of something to do, and then you gotta like find that opening. And yeah, always tricky.
Very. That is the trick of playing online for sure. Good question. All right. Let's see. So we had Lava and Jay. So Bex and Richard is who is left.
I don't think I gave an answer to that question. Not that I remember what it is.
Well, you went first and said you didn't have an answer.
The answer? No, I remember.
No.
It was the question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was
going to say Beck's answer actually leads us kind of into one of the viewer questions, if we want to hit that. Stormer415 asked us, do we prefer playing digitally or getting to play in a physical game?
I actually have that on the list.
Yeah. So, it's another
Okay.
good question.
Okay.
I will say there are mostly aspects I like about playing in a physical room with people. You tend to get an atmosphere that just helps things smooth out, like we've kind of been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like about the digital, and this is the one thing, is people tend to come a little bit more prepared because they're preparing all this stuff already. Because you're already preparing to be in a digital environment. You know it's going to be harder, so you tend to come more prepared.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. I think that's an accurate assessment. I don't think I would say anything different to that. I kind of, yeah. That's basically my answer too. Does it? I'm going to take a guess and say Richard probably would not even say anything different to that either.
Yeah, definitely physical, just playing at the table.
Yeah.
It's easier. Another challenge for me is, going back to the earlier question, is then trying to navigate that the conversation flow of playing online while, like, because some of y'all have played together. I've not played with any of y'all. Y'all have not played with any of me. So I'm trying to learn you guys as a group and work. And that's all just so much easier in person to do. For one, if nothing else, I can always make some barbecue and make everybody feel at home. But it's just so much easier to build that rapport in person. But this is what we have. When you have 7, I guess, total working adults, and sometimes it's the best you can do, and this is better than nothing for sure, and it's amazing we can make it work. So,
right.
And I hadn't really thought about it, what Jay said about people coming more prepared digital, but that's an excellent point, and I subconsciously was doing just that. He's absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm. And
one thing I would note too, at least for me, I'm not used to digital. So when we were doing the digital dungeon sheets, that was a new thing for me to learn. Whereas in paper, it felt so easy to just be like, well, all my stuff's right here in my book or on my piece of paper. If I need to mark something off, I know exactly how to do it. Whereas in digital, we kind of had to learn that.
Right. It's like a whole different thing. I will give one credit to the digital side that in certain regards, you can immerse the players a little better in certain things, whether it be music and everybody having their own Roll20 so close if you're on a computer screen, whereas being physical, everything's small. So like it's kind of much less detailed in certain aspects. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just you get, especially like the music side of it, having it, if like all of us are wearing headsets and they get to control their own volume, but just having it that close to you kind of really changes the atmosphere a little bit, as opposed to just being in a room where someone has like a speaker on a table or something like that. It's just a little different. Not, I wouldn't say drastically, but different enough to where it can change things. But overall, I do think physical is, if you can achieve it, physical is the better way to go.
I have no experience doing physical either, so like I said, I've been almost exclusively play by post. I did a little bit of playing beforehand with some friends from school, but we kind of just went on how our school schedule was working out. So people were showing up on and off all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't. It might be better doing physical. But the only time I ever tried to do physical, it was like not even a session 0 where I was helping my friends create characters, and then after that they had to leave, and we just completely forgot to even try and play again.
Sure.
To the point where they lost the character sheets, and I have no idea if they're in my house or at theirs or what. I don't.
Nice.
That is a thing about physical. You can lose character sheets.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to be a little more responsible with your content. But
We got some more interesting questions in the chat.
yeah, what I was going to say, we
Have
have
a good list now.
we have questions piling up. So Bex and Richard, hold on to your questions, or if you didn't have any, think of what you would like to ask. We're going to go back to chat so we don't get the list too piled up. Thin it down, and then we'll come back to you. So throw who was first, or what are the earlier ones we got? Throw it out there.
The earliest one that I have on my list is, if you were to homebrew class, what would it be? And some of us already hit that with garlic bread cleric, garlic mancer.
They're really cool. Look them up. I didn't homebrew them.
Neither did I.
We just looked them up, and they're really funny.
I didn't even look mine up. I saw mine in a YouTube video.
Yeah, the most balanced homebrew classes.
Mine was most ridiculous homebrew, or least liked homebrew on D&D Beyond.
I'd make a variant human hunter type of class that is based off of Bloodborne, and would probably do it with the saw spear specifically, and the Henrik attire probably.
My guy.
Yeah. And dump stats. If you had find a way, if you're translating it from Bloodborne, would dump stats into skill and strength, because those just scale stupid with the saw spear. So by the time that gets in there, you're just really stout. And for those who've never played the game, saw weapons do extra damage to beast, which is very prevalent in that game. So it's this whole thing.
We'll call it the Blood Hunter.
Which does exist.
Except it's locked behind turning on the critical role function on the character sheet creation.
Right. That is an actual thing, is Blood Hunter.
Yes.
But they
but
use
it's still technically homebrewed.
They use actual blood magic type of stuff. The Blood Hunter does. But but still, that would be my answer to that. Does anybody else?
The Hunter in Bloodborne.
Anyone else have an answer for that one?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I don't know about making myself, because I don't know how to do that. But what I would like to see is either a dragon warlock, and a cleric-y paladin bard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dragon Warlock sounds cool. They use the power of the dragons.
Because there's some dragon other stuff, and so kind of just pull from that dragon stuff, that the UA that was released, that I'm guessing is going to Fizzbands. But yeah,
it's Fizzban's Treasury of Dragons, so I'd assume so.
Hey, Richard, any homebrew characters in that brain of yours?
Something I would love to see happen, and a friend of mine tried, and it was surprisingly underpowered. From the Stormlight Archive series, there's a Order of Knights, without getting too into it, called Windrunners, and they have abilities to lash things where they affect the gravitational pull on it, so they can lighten themselves and fly, essentially, or lighten other things and pin them to walls and pin them down and stop movement and things like that.
Wow.
And it would be a lot of work, but I think that could be a really cool crowd control type class to be homebrewed, where you're just locking down movement and going airborne, and zipping in and out, hit and run type stuff.
That'd be very interesting.
It would be very interesting.
Okay. Lava, you got...
Yeah, I have... there's still 4 questions on the list.
All right.
What resources would you recommend to get started playing. I'd assume playing D&D based on the question, because all I was given was what resources are recommended to get started.
Everyone drink.
Imagination.
Imagination and a D&D Beyond account, and
You don't even need a D&D Beyond account.
Everyone drink. Cheers.
well, it would make the most sense because it already gives you some free content, and you can go through a tutorial sort of thing on how to build a character sheet.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I said, like, if anything, just D&D Beyond account. Like, it's free.
You need friends to play with.
Not on
important.
Roll20. You can join
Very
random
important.
campaigns on there. I've seen it.
You need people to play with.
You need people to play with. They don't need to be
People.
friends.
Well, it's better with friends, arguably. But
Yes.
Everybody has very different learn styles, so it kind of just depends on you as an individual. But I think what works best would be for you to find someone you know that knows a little bit about it and kind of pick their brain piece by piece. But don't try to skip from A to Z, which is what a lot of people I find do, is they just want to go from not knowing to being able to jump in and play and not ever have to think twice about anything, which most of us still can't do. So that's not really realistic. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Just learn what you can. The basics, I think, I think a lot of people overthink, because I know I did when I started. There was so much things that I was getting in my own way a lot of the time just by thinking of stuff that I didn't really even need to think about. It was actually a lot more simple than what I was making it out to be. But there's no shortage. I mean, at this point, with the internet being what it is, there's no shortage of resource material out there between like little short YouTube videos or Google articles or all kinds of different things outside of just actual like licensed D&D material. There's plenty of YouTubers and Twitch streamers and all kinds of stuff that's literally what they do, is try to do these little short stints of how to get into this stuff. Like even the guys from Critical Role did a little short series on like, this is a monk and what it's like to play these. This is a barbarian.
The Handbook or Helper series.
Yep. And it was very basic, but that's kind of what you need when you're getting started. You don't want to go head first into all the crazy mountain of details right out the gate. Like, just get what you need.
The lore and details.
Get what you need.
I didn't even get into the lore till I didn't even start getting into like some of the lore and more niche rules of the game until like my second or third year of playing. My answer to that too. More people.
My answer to that too, and this is probably where you get into subjective nature between who you're talking to. I hesitate to tell people to go and learn rules because that may change with who you're playing with pretty greatly.
Mm-hmm.
These rules tend to be more guidelines and subjective than they are like hardcore. This is what you will see at every single D&D thing you ever play. It doesn't really seem to hold true for that, and that bothers some people, and it doesn't bother some people. But I hesitate to say if you're like starting new, I wouldn't go too far.
The nature of it is you want to have one person who does know the rules. That's the DM, and they're going to help guide the rest of the players through the rules.
Right.
Because the nice thing about Dungeons & Dragons is it's kind of a cooperative experience, and then you work together to figure out problems, and it's fun that way. That's why we recommend it with friends. And especially when you're figuring out, because you can all just come to an agreement. Oh, this is the way we're going to play this. And you just find that one person who you all trust, and you say, okay, we're willing to play the DM's way, and we'll just go with it.
I don't remember which of the handbooks that I have right in front of me here say it in, but one of the first lines I remember reading when reading one of them, which was probably the player's handbook, is, "This book is a set of rules. You don't have to follow the rules. Treat them as less a set of rules, more as a set of guidelines of more general ideas of how to play."
Right.
The whole idea behind the game is that you all, as a group, agree on the rules, so that way nobody feels like they're cheated in any way.
Right.
And that's the main reason to have rules, is so no one feels cheated.
And per someone's commented in chat, I'm actually like me personally, I jumped in head first and read a lot of rules because I'm that type of person. I'm a data person. But I have several other friends that also just recently got into D&D, and they tried to do that, and it about broke them to where they didn't want anything to do with the game. It was too much, and it wasn't their learn style, and it ended up causing them to overthink, and they didn't enjoy it because they were having way too much going in their head. I was like, okay, you just need to take a step back because you're thinking about things that you don't even need right now. Like, just get in and be a goofy dwarf. Just start with that.
As an example, I was helping my friends create characters. All I did was, in the Essentials kit, gives you like a really basic version of the player's handbook, where it's basically like you have 5 races, 5 classes, have at it.
Right.
So it's like he picked Hill Dwarf. It was like Hill Dwarf Wizard or something, or no, it was Hill Dwarf Fighter. But he dump statted intelligence, so we rolled it like he was somewhat crazy, so he believed he had like an army of squirrels.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Because
Rick
like I
and
was
Morty
like,
technique.
yeah, it's like, do you get like I know you guys well enough. We'll get more into the rules later on. We'll start out. Here's just the base list of things that you need to know. Here, have at her.
Right.
I think I also had the player's handbook at that point, so I did let them use that if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But neither of them really wanted to. They're like, just give me the small book.
Well, we had one in a small group that was very confusing for some new players because they had tried to do some studying with the handbook, and it got into a situation, kind of what Jay was talking about, to where what needed to happen was that we had a DM who knew what he was doing, and they had designed it a specific way, and the specific situation didn't go like by the D&D licensed handbook rule. It was kind of like a homebrew rule, and there was just one individual there who was like a hardcore rule lawyer, and he just could not accept that in his brain. So they were constantly going back and forth. It's like, no, actually, this is how this has to work. And the DM's like, well, I get that, but like in this universe, that's not how it works. And then the other person just didn't accept that rule. So these 2 new people are sitting here. It's like, what do we do? Because they had no idea which was right and which was wrong at that point. I was like, well, technically neither, but it's the DM's world. So I mean, ultimately, you just need to go with that.
Yeah.
Like I remember saying, I know I've said this multiple times. It's like I'll get a little rules lawyery once in a while to try and figure out the specifics of certain things, and then it's like, and then let's say you'll be like, you'll say something like, yeah, that's not how it works, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll go with how you want it. Because
no one here has gone
to
the extent of what I'm talking about with these guys. Like this was
No.
This was well beyond the point of what anyone should ever go with rules, because it lasted for about 20 minutes.
I just kind of imagine the DM as a baseball referee, and they can throw you out if you disagree with them, even if you don't like their call.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, wouldn't that be a time? It's just like,
I mean,
you're out. And then
I was just saying, like, that's the
down.
closest I think. I think that's like the closest we've come, where we'll have like maybe 2 or 3 of us all just looking up a rule, and then you'll be like, I don't want us to be spending too much more time on this. We'll just go with what I said.
So,
well, that also
sort of
goes
thing.
back to something Jay said earlier. Is like there are times where I consider doing that, but I know we're on a time constraint, so I'm like, we can't stop and think about that stuff. Like,
Yes.
do it where you can, but if it takes too much time, just move on.
Which is why, at least online so far, I've been enjoying the combat part, because then it's like, okay, I have my turn kind of planned out, and I'm casting this spell. I'm gonna take a few minutes and check to see how the spell works, so I can ensure everything's being rolled properly. Sometimes even pre-rolling my dice so that we can just get through my turn faster.
to go back to the original question, you also just have to have a campaign that you want to go through.
This is true.
Right.
So,
Or even homebrew
to
it.
summarize a little bit, because I feel like we've been on this question for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As
You
is the
probably if you want to play D&D 5e, a D&D Beyond account, a couple of friends. I would recommend getting just one dice set for y'all to share, and then find a campaign that you think you'll all enjoy. It's easy enough to Google them, and
Right.
they're on the D&D website. You just print them off.
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
Love it. Chats.
You bring up dice. One of the questions on the list, because I'm giving up on going in an order. Do you have a special set of dice you prefer to use, or are you a dice goblin?
Both. I am a dice goblin because I regularly attend board gaming events, and they give these things out for free all the time.
I need to go wherever you're going.
Yeah.
The heck? Don't get no free dice around here.
You don't get them in sets. You just get like one at a time. So like,
Oh, okay.
you get a 4-sided die, then you get a 6-sided die.
I want to be a dice goblin, but
Keep coming back.
I'll let somebody. So, Bex or Richard, one of you two. I haven't heard from you guys in a minute. One of you two go first.
I have a lot of dice that I've only bought one pair of dice, but I have several sets of dice. But I don't ever really use them because I prefer to just roll on my sheet and let the computer do the math for me. So it's just like they're just there for looks almost.
Even though
when I do roll them, I'm just like numbers.
Even though it continues to betray you, and we say you just need to do the real dice to get these low rolls out of here.
It does betray me, but I feel like it was better after I stopped using the thing to send it to Roll20 if it's only on my sheet. I don't know, maybe that's just in my head, but like I'm not having to do the math because even when I sometimes if I don't have like a sheet and I'm just rolling for some like when I'm DMing, I was just using Crit Dice app on my phone instead of like rolling because also I'm like I need to do it faster and I forget how to do math. But they're pretty because most of them sparkle. The one I bought was like a galaxy set, so it's like purple and blue and sparkly, and so and one's like sea glass. Like
gotta use the sparkles.
Pretty.
You gotta do it. Richard, same question.
Yeah, I'm honestly like Bex. I've got about 3 sets. Mostly when I do physical dice, I use my first set. There, it's like a purple and silver swirl kind of thing. But D&D Beyond just makes it easy. And then there's a log there you can go back. I can look at. You can look at. Anybody can look at and see. And it, when we're trying to rush through things, and I could do simple head math pretty quick, but that's just so much quicker than even that.
Sure.
Plus I think they all have a lot of the ones on D&D Beyond have sound effects. So like there's the ice one and goes, and then the blood one makes like a splat noise, which is really gross.
It's like a squelch. It's fantastic.
It's so gross, and I love it.
Very satisfying.
More random pros of playing digitally, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Hence blood.
Lava, did you answer this question?
He showed his
I
Yeah.
want to be a dice goblin, and I'm much prefer rolling physically anyway.
Yeah.
But I only have the 3 sets. The one that came with the Essentials kit, which was, I think it was 46 and 2d20s, and I lost some of the dice around the house.
Nice.
I got the one you sent me with the dice box,
Mm-hmm.
the one I got for Christmas, and the other d20. It's fun. I like rolling physically. just because I have fingers. And I don't trust online dice.
I definitely prefer the physical because I like the clickety clackety.
Roll to attackity.
Yep. I guess I'm both. Depending on how you define dice goblin, I have I think 11 pair of dice total, but I only ever use the exact same ones so far from episode 1 up until now. I have not changed them. So I don't cycle between those. I have a lot of those for extras because not only D&D night, we have a lot of board game nights and various things at our home to where we have people over. So it's for multiple things. But that being said, I use the exact same dice in the exact same box and they never move. 3 of them are colored metal D20s that are rather large. And then the other set, which is like all your standard set come with it, are kind of like a weird like purple and blue mix of things that are just there. And yeah, I just use those every single episode. And that's what I use.
Yeah.
Those metal ones are heavy.
They are.
Yeah.
Yours in specific.
But you can throw them harder.
Yes, especially on
Nice.
the dice tray. Just yeah, try to break it.
There's a question in chat that I wanted to get to. What is your guys' favorite part of D&D? Role playing, combat, problem solving,
I have
dungeon
that on the
crawling,
list.
exploration. That's from Handalf the Red.
Yes.
Or Handalf the Red.
I'm
What do
gonna
you think it's
guess that
Handel?
is someone's name who also starts with H. Is that correct, Richard?
Yep, that's who you think it is.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, someone feel free to go first on that.
I probably much prefer going with. I much prefer doing role playing combat rather than the dungeon crawling, exploration, and problem solving, because that's really what hits the. I don't know. I just have fun doing it.
Mhm.
Like, combat gives me a chance to kind of think and kind of hit the problem solving a little bit while still just being like boom, 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 boom. Whereas in role playing, it can be. It's like the games that, like, sometimes I want to do something, take my time, and act it out, or maybe just read it
Mhm.
and just read a story, which is where the role play comes in, because you're writing or coming up with a story on the spot. And then I also like mixing in with that role play some combat to kind of break up the monotony of that role play can become for me. So having a full out session of combat for me can sometimes be boring, but that's fine
So-
because
So
parents.
Lava's answer is he just likes D&D in general.
I like the
Just
yes,
give me all of it.
give me all of it, but I'm okay without the dungeon crawling all the time.
Okay.
Like, I'll dungeon crawl and I'll explore, but just give me at least combat and roleplay and I'll be good.
All right.
Like, it doesn't even have to have dice rolling for me to enjoy it, really.
Bex, what about you?
I kind of like a good like mix of all of them as well. Like, again, probably also role playing combat the most. I feel like I'm not very good at problem solving. Some depending on like if it's a riddle, like I don't know, it depends on what it is. But like I like the opportunities to do like creative thinking. But yeah, like I like the variety. Like if there's too much of one thing, I'm just like, if it's like if it goes so I've done like one thing where we've like the dungeon crawled in combat for like several months in a row, and we're like, can we just like stop for a second, but also for just like role play. I'm like, please, I just really want to stab something. So
What a lovely summary. Just I would like to stab something. Let me poke.
Let me poke with my sharp, pointy stick.
Jay, what about you?
Say I probably enjoy the role playing aspect most. Within that, a little bit of exploration. I like finding out about the story and knowing what's going on. I'm a really story driven person when it comes to gaming. Antithetical to that, I would say I try to avoid combat as much as possible, not just on Miller as a character, but like as me as a player.
Interesting.
Because I find it can be very slogged down.
Certainly can be.
Yeah. Well, it's the roleplay can feel very interactive and quick, and you feel like you can always take your turn.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Which is why talking is a free action in 5e.
Richard, same question.
Interestingly, Handoff can back me up on this because they witnessed some of this. I like the like Jay said, the story-driven stuff. Yes, and within that, my favorite thing is the problem solving, because you have this massive toolbox, and there's
Right.
37,000 ways to go around the log. Like in a campaign, my Forge Cleric, we had to plan a heist essentially, and there was a map locked away in secure vault. We distracted the guards. We got in. They kept everything distracted, and I just did my Forge Cleric ritual and made an exact duplicate of the map. and then left with a copy, and then the guards go check, everything's still there, everything's fine, and voila, because we spent a little extra time on it, and I look, oh, I have this utility, let's use this. That made things much easier down the road, and I just like finding ways using your toolbox around other than just the blunt force. Kick the door in, and sometimes you do need to kick the door in and hit a few people with a warhammer, but sometimes you got really creative ways you can use spells like creation. Creation's amazing, and you can do all sorts of insane stuff with it.
Right.
And finding the ways to do that and maximize it is probably my favorite thing.
The other fun thing about problem solving in D&D is that sometimes you don't even know what the problem is, and that's half the fun, is trying to figure out what you're trying to solve. Very true.
Which is like it's so different being on the other side of that. Which I laugh now thinking back on it, because I constantly, as a DM now, I constantly think of campaign 1. I was like, man, like, were we just like that much of like oblivious or idiots sometimes? Because I feel like sometimes there are things that's like right there, and like people just skirt around it, because like player blindness is just very much a thing, because you just have so much going on that sometimes you just look right around it, or the DM just or I just don't convey it well enough, or whatever it is. But I remember being a player and just like it just wasn't obvious to me at all. But then like when we found it out later, I was like, oh, I'm dumb. that was like right there. Dang it. But it is what it is. That's part of the beauty of D&D.
On that topic, another question came up in chat.
Okay.
What thing about you, your life, your interests is most dissimilar to D&D?
Yep. Dissimilar, antithetical.
Yeah, antithetical or dissimilar to D&D.
I don't solve my problems by stabbing people.
Or lighting your pants on fire and jumping out. Or do you do that?
Well,
I kind of hope you do. I'm not going to lie. Please make a TikTok.
I think my pants are worth more than that. Just light them on fire.
I'll send you some with some fire retardant coated on it, and we'll see what happens.
Honestly, though, I would say I'm much more cautious in real life, whereas in D&D I can be much more brash and laissez-faire about things. You can be a lot more imaginative.
Fair answer. Bex, what about you?
I guess like, similar to that, as far as you think of like how you play D&D. When I first like read the question, I was picturing it differently a little bit. So like the thing that came to mind was, and it's not so much like that it actually is dissimilar, I don't think, but like as far as like stereotypes go, I feel that as far as like being a Christian is supposed to be like what, like with D&D, because if you think of like the 80s, and then also hiking and being outdoors, because it's kind of like, well, you're supposed to just be like in the basement, or something like that. So I feel like those things, it's kind of like they're antithetical to like the stereotypes of like D&D.
D&D culture or expectations of what D&D is.
Oh gosh, like if stereotypes are the thing, I probably break every single potential rule that exists. In that I just do things. I don't care. Do all the things. I'm just here to have fun. I don't care what it is.
I would agree with Bex on the whole Christian thing too, because a lot of D&D, and I didn't realize this until a while playing it, is like a lot of it is built around their like pantheon of gods, and it's like that's the real thing that we have to work around. It's pretty antithetical to the D&D culture.
Right. It is a.
I remember the satanic panic of the 80s. I'm old enough because I'm a geezer like that, and
back in my day.
It took, even in high school, like I thought it was something I would like, but I still had that taste in my mouth from having that drilled in my head as a kid about how evil it was, and there was a Tom Hanks movie about it even. So yeah, that's a good point.
It's so funny because it can be very different from depending on your family. Because me and Richard grew up in the same place, but mine was the opposite. I didn't have any of that, but I just didn't. The problem was due to that exact type of thinking. I didn't know anyone else that I could play it with, like at all. I always wanted to play it when I was younger. I just could never find anyone because everybody was in that mentality where we lived. That they were just like, big no, like we don't do this. And I was like, really? I was like, and I would go ask my parents, like, is that fine? It's like, no, they're just a little weird about it. I was like, oh, well, okay, well that's sad. I'd like to try. Would anyone else like to try? Can we try? No? Okay. I'll wait till later in life.
The funny thing is, most people have played D&D in their life because they played pretend or they imagined stuff in their life. They've gone in the backyard and pretended to be
with a stick,
like a superhero or a knight or whatever. And that's essentially all D&D is. It's just a game of pretend with rules.
For sure. 100%.
One of the funny things, sort of on that topic, my parents, one of the first times they heard that I was playing D&D, like with school, we were having like a pizza dinner thing with my sisters were having friends over, and I had my laptop, and the DM was like, I'm just gonna take you one-on-one, and you're gonna do like just a session so you can kind of learn the rules a little bit, so I'm not like telling you everything as we're going. It's like how stuff works. And you can kind of learn your character. When they heard I was doing that, my dad was like, okay, you can do that. Just try and stay away from anything like satanic. And he gave me like a weird look, like the whole night sort of thing, like like it's like something I was gonna do along those lines. It's like, and now I've spent how much money on it, and he's like, it's something you enjoy. It's whatever.
So I was very fortunate.
And the fact you can avoid some of the more satanic things anyway, if you really want to.
See, I was very fortunate to have two parents that are just absolute dorks, and granted they didn't play D&D, and they would have had no clue anything about it, but they would have never stifled the option or anything to do it. And if they probably would have jokingly said the same thing, like if it was like, all right, just don't go worship Satan or anything, and I'd probably like, if knowing them and our humor, I'd probably just be like, oh, don't worry, we're just gonna worship demons. We're not gonna go like all the way to Satan. Like that's a bit of a stretch. Just we're gonna go halfway, not all the way. That'd be a little too much. And then we just have a good laugh. But yeah, I definitely get it because like Richard said, that was a very common thing all around us growing up, and even still kind of is, depending on who you talk to. If there's enough people that just haven't experienced it. That's a good question, though. Were there any other built-up questions that we didn't get to?
Yes, there's still two more. One of them shouldn't be too hard. When did you start playing D&D?
It's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, like I said, I'm getting the easy one first. I started, I want to say like 4 years ago. I was in grade 11. I did 2 years in grade 12. Yeah, 4 years. Oh, it'll be 4 years ago this September.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess and say mine is actually the least out of everyone in this group here, because mine would have been the first group of, I think the first or second group of one shots that the TRG dungeon did.
The first one, I remember. I was your DM.
Yep. So whenever that was
That was a year
and a
ago.
half.
Year and a half ago.
Year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like April or so of last year.
It was like not long after COVID started.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere was like locked down crazy.
Well, that can't be right because let me see, 20.
Oh, was it? I remember it was April.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think, it's like, when did our campaign start?
Your campaign, I think, started. I'd guess
our
like
first
a couple weeks after. Because I remember you messaged me about a month after the one shot, asking if I wanted to play D&D with you or something like that.
I guess that's right. So somewhere between 1.5 to 2 years ago. So it's not long. Was my first time getting to play it. I had wanted to for a long time, as I never could find a group, and it for whatever reason, which is just of my own fault of not being intelligent enough to think about it. Like, oh yeah, the internet's a thing. Plenty of people there. You dummy. And then
And now you're running
yeah,
a campaign on the internet.
yep. So like, well, I'll just give up trying to find people in Hattiesburg and just go to. Yeah, which there's actually a bunch of people. There's just I didn't have a good way to get in touch with them, but now because and Richard learned this the last time he came to visit because it took me forever living here, just right under my freaking nose that there was a wonderful board game store here that has all kinds of D&D and Pathfinder and even Star Wars board game material, like all kind of stuff and Warhammer and a plethora of different things. And they have board game nights and D&D nights specifically and all sorts of things. So there's actually a lot of good ways to get integrated. I was just completely unintelligent and missed most of it. So that's on me. But I eventually
If only I
found
had a
PRG
local
Dungeon.
game store. Yes. Well, that's because I made it for the one shot, and now it's evolved into basically just being a TRG branded D&D server, basically.
Richard,
Like,
how long have you been playing?
I think it was either fall of 15 or 16, so 5 or 6 years coming up. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to go back and look.
A little tenure.
Handoff Mike can say when we started that campaign.
And then Jay, did you answer? I can't remember.
I'm not. Mine would be. I've known the rules for a long time, but when I really started playing was 2015. So
That's
6 years.
ago.
So yeah, spring of 2015, I got a couple of buddies in university together to play because they were really interested.
On this topic, did everyone start with 5e?
I
Did
didn't.
not.
Yes.
And then Bex, same question. When did you start?
And then I'll answer that with also answering the earlier question that I didn't get to answer. Is that I started 5 years ago with my old Quidditch team, and so it's been a really great way to stay in touch with them. And that was with 5e, and like so in that, like I wanted to answer the prefer playing this digitally or physically, and that's like it always. I feel like it really comes down to the people, right? Because like I wouldn't be able to play with you guys or my Quidditch team if it, like that was digital. But like when we moved my physical groups online, like that was just like a little rough. Like it was so much better when we got back to the table, but it's just kind of like because we have that opportunity, and I also really love playing my play-by-post, and it's kind of like they're all have their drawbacks and strengths. Of the different, so I like having all the different formats, but yeah, because I really thought I'm just like, man, I need to start more games with my old friends in like California because I feel like I still hang out with my Quidditch team, and I haven't some of them I haven't seen in person in 5 years. I think when I've gone down there, I've seen like one of them, or no, and the one was up here too. But yeah, it's been great because it's like have that little catch up but. Anyway, yeah, but to answer this one, that was 5 years and start with 5e, and I only played a little bit of 3.5, which is too much math.
That's what I've heard.
It is a lot.
Lava, is there one more question in the queue?
One more question. This one's from Liam.
Okay.
Is there anything that your character will do in Barovia but wouldn't do in the Forgotten Realms? He specified Toriel, but those are the same thing.
Yeah. That's an interesting, kind of like a meta question, but okay.
It is very meta.
I'm interested. Richard, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What would Zyle do differently? Let's say let's hone it in and say that's hard. Gosh, that's a hard question to answer.
I think we can answer it.
Go
I
for
think
it.
it's
If we need to hone it, like we're in Curse of Strahd now, but let's say instead of Curse of Strahd, we were doing Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat instead. What would you do differently between the two? Because the one is much more fantasy, just general adventure.
at the point we are in the story, right? Our characters are kind of in a realm we don't know a ton about it, so they're gonna act based on what they know.
Right.
But to be fair, we've learned a couple things, about this. So there's a lot more spooky stuff going on.
Yeah.
So Millard is a lot less likely to trust people, or really to trust the environment, I guess, more than people. Especially after like our first interaction with the house.
Right.
So as far as
the
things,
lovely, lovely death house.
he's less likely to go off on his own and think he can take care of a situation. Because at least in the realm we were in, he knew what was what.
That's a fair assessment. Richard, same question.
I think Jay's kind of close to where I'm at on that. Zell's after the house and then coming out of the house into death in the streets and then the boom, 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 boom. His attitude's not really going to change, but he is going to be more cautious about things, just in general, his approach. Because he's a kick in the door kind of guy, and it's going to make him be more of a let's slowly open the door kind of guy.
Nice. And to tease
The
chat.
one thing,
Good.
the one thing that Millard won't be as cautious on is stealing, because he doesn't know these people, so he doesn't have as much remorse for stealing from them.
It's like the opposite effect. Like it's like I don't know anybody. There's no skin off my back. To tease Chad a little bit, they're talking about the broom. Like I actually teased Richard a little bit because I knew he knew about the broom. So I made a point for the broom to show an appearance, but it was just a broom.
Yeah.
You got me too.
Yeah.
As soon as you said there's a broom in here, I was like, I was bracing for it.
Bonk. It just bounced off.
For anyone that didn't
Say?
know, in the book, it's an animated broom, so it's literally a broom that attacks you. Quite literally. I was like, this place is just mean. There's just so many random inanimate objects that just try to attack you.
You see, because I did a play-by post, of course, of Strahd, when my character had to solo Death House because everyone else was doing a different thing, and my character was like, nope, I'm at the bar. And now he's wandering the streets to get to know the village while they're off fighting vampire spawn.
We told it to frick off. Told the ghost.
Bex, same question back to you.
I don't know. I feel like that's hard to tell, because like I didn't really think too much about like in a different realm, and I feel like we haven't been here long enough to fully see a difference, because I feel like they still just got here. So I don't know. I mean, other people are having good answers, but I'm still kind of stuck on like, how can I tell? Like, I don't know.
Right. Which I mean that makes sense. That makes sense too. And then Lava, would Nadar have an answer as his kind of on the same with Elbreth? It's not really enough data.
Well, I mean, considering Nadar originally wasn't going off data and just going off instinct in general, it's more like he's been thrown out of his element. His instincts haven't changed, although they are a little bit sharper due to not being able to have as much access to alcohol.
Despite just having hit up a tavern.
Six
is not nearly enough. That's what he's telling you.
Yes,
It's not enough.
He needs at least 12 to be properly drunk.
This is the Adam Driver meme, just more.
More.
I like this question from chat.
Yeah.
That's if this is going to be great. I'm excited to hear this. If you were going to play another player's character, who would you
I
pick?
actually put that on the list.
And keep that within this group. So within the Curse of Strahd campaign, if you were to pick
Yes, I think
someone else's
that's
character, who would you pick?
I pick Strahd.
Of course.
I'm just kidding.
I would pick Strahd. No. I would probably swap with. I could think of something cool to do with Ayla.
Okay.
Although the voice would be hard.
I'd like to see it, though.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
Yes.
Jay, which one would you...
I would probably pick Mark, mostly because I really want to play a wizard at some point. I don't often play spellcasters, but I find it would be interesting to play Mark because he's a wizard who doesn't know what he knows. Like, he's in this strange realm and he's still figuring out his powers, and I think that'd be really fun.
Right. Very different. Bex?
I feel like either Millard or Nadar, just because I like those classes, and yeah, I don't know. It seems like it would just be fun to be a drunk dwarf or like a superstitious sailor.
Nice.
Yes, but I don't know if you'd like the reason that he's drunk all the time, which we'll get to another episode, hopefully next week, if my work doesn't schedule until 11 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Teased that a little bit last week. Also, I see
you
you, Stormer.
Enjoy the reason. Yeah, thank you, Stormer. You would enjoy the reason why Millard is afraid of water all the time.
It's just because it starts with a W.
Yes.
It's like a crazy superstition. It's just the weirdest thing.
Spoilers.
Richard,
I understand that reference.
I mean, from a non-story perspective, like from a player perspective, I was like, this is gonna be really crazy because it's so flexible what you can be superstitious of water about.
True.
Yeah.
It adds a lot of fun
anymore.
stuff to it.
Ricardo, same question.
Yeah, I'd play Millard. I would just want to be entropy on legs.
What an amazing summary.
he would just be fun. That and second pick would probably be Ayla because the very first campaign I played a monk all the way up to 18th level. So I just know the mechanics of monk really well, and I really like them. The battlefield control kind of thing, because that's what I like doing in games and such is battlefield control, and monks are just so good at it.
If you're the type of person that likes combat and you get to high enough levels, monks get just stupid.
They're weird because they're like to about 6th level, they're pretty good curve, and then it just kind of flattens off, and then you hit level 14, and it does that.
Yep.
You see, the one time I played monk, I didn't even make it to level. Don't think I made it to level 3.
Oh,
my character died before level 3.
You hit the spike, and you're like, I stun everybody, but there's 20 of them, and I stun them all.
Every last one of them, and I take no damage. And I fell from 80 feet. What about it?
How I imagine it would be for like a monk that high level would be like, so there's 20 enemies. I'm gonna punch them all. Really? Yes.
Yes, pretty much. So to finally get back to him, so we've caught up on the chat questions. So we'll start with Richard and go to Bex because I want to give you time to ask questions if you want to. So Richard, did you have any questions as a player that you wanted to ask any of the other players or me as a DM or anything about the campaign?
Had one, and then in the midst of everything else, I have since forgotten it. So come back to me. Maybe I'll remember it.
Nice. Let's see if Bex has the same answer. Bex.
It's just like what I was saying earlier. Doesn't come up with questions. I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm worried we were told like a week in advance.
I thought
I'm not the greatest to come up for questions.
I could be given 6 months, and I still will. I don't know. Like, it's just hard.
That's fine. Like, there doesn't have to be any questions. I can ask one while Richard's coming up with one because I did have a couple that I was going to ask just in relation to the campaign itself. So, because you can choose how you want to answer this, whether it be player or character or both. But in I believe it was episode 7, you guys started receiving some exposition from an NPC that was kind of delivering certain details about what was going on in the world. And then fast forward to episode 9, you talk to a new NPC and they kind of not necessarily cut that off, but give you contradicting information to the same exact story there. And it was more of like, no, that I don't think that's what is going on. So then you have one perspective and a completely different perspective. So the question is just more of like, do you have a consensus of what you think truth is, or are you more on the side to where what you got from it is kind of stay back from making choices on what people tell you and get information and then decide for yourself?
See, I wasn't there for episode 9, so I watched the recording.
Yeah, you can answer as a player.
I just don't remember any of the information from either of those sessions. I'll be honest.
So the specific example would be Namir talking about the blood year, and then you guys go talk to Ismark, and he's like, "No, that not a thing." So then you have two different views on it. So you're either like the type of person that you picked a side and went with it, or you're the type of person that kind of said back, like, "Okay, I got two different things. I don't really know what to do with this. I'm going to wait till I get more information."
Yeah. Nidar wasn't conscious for the second one, so I can only answer as a player.
That's fine.
I like the idea of a blood year. I'm just gonna rock with that.
It's like, I just want there to be a blood year, so I'm going with that.
It's like, that sounds fun. That sounds like a fun incorporation to a campaign to make it a little more of a horror campaign. Like, the whole world is...
I was thinking.
Wow.
the world is trying to kill you.
I was like, this is supposed to be a harsh campaign, right? Because he warned us. Matt
Yeah.
warned us before.
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is going to be very difficult.
Right.
As a character, though, Millard is actually more likely to trust Namir, even though he didn't get along with him.
Mm-hmm.
He sees him as like a fighter, kind of like a man, or like the common man's hero.
Sure.
Whereas this other guy who told it there's no blood year, he seems to be in some sort of position of power. We don't know how high up that power is, but we do know he's got a big house. And Millard's kind of like,
Right.
well, you're not my friend necessarily yet. I'm gonna act like you're my friend, but you aren't. So he's definitely more on Namir's version of things. Plus, it's the more dangerous thing.
Sure.
Because he gets choice. So.
Right. And to clarify, I'm not going to answer which is right or wrong for it. I'm going to leave that ominous. I was just curious more of like exactly how you answered, how you guys have perceived it as players or characters. So, Richard or Beck, same question.
Actually, Zyles kind of would be feeling the same way that Jay just described, where Namir would be the more trustworthy one because, Zyle being a military man, seeing him fight for the common people, that kind of thing, is just inherently going to trust him more, but there's so much conflicting information coming in right now that he's definitely in a stand back and wait and get as much as we can
Sure.
kind of state.
I think that's fair. Bex, what about Elbreth? Or Bex? Muted.
So yeah, to Bex, because Elbreth doesn't know, but I don't really understand the question. Like,
oh, just where you sit between, like, because so Jay and Richard kind of said they're just kind of like the options were: did you, as a player, pick sides between the two, or
do you believe
are you
in the blood year, or do you do not believe in the blood year?
that's a simple version, or are you kind of stepping back, like, I've heard two different things, I don't know what to make of this, so I'm going to wait till I get more information?
Everybody's a liar.
yeah, neutral. Yeah, just waiting. Yeah, because on these things, like, yeah, I don't really like to try to, like, maybe it's wrong. I don't know. I try not to, like, figure things out. Like, I want to still wait and see, like, what's going on. So it's just kind of like, okay, I take this information and.
So when Millard kills Ismark, you're gonna have a problem with that.
Oh no.
That's not gonna happen. Probably not.
Oh,
Considering
no.
I'm hoping 2-Bit did one of
I feel like if Miller just like randomly murder hobos Is Mark just because it's like what is like I don't know like it. I feel like it doesn't matter what he thinks. Like what is Mark thinks. I feel like that's still a problem. Like if it's just like I'm just gonna kill you now. Like
No, it's not. It wouldn't be like that. But it would be like a discussion with the party if that happened in the future.
Oh
Where you'd
no.
be like, well, this guy's obviously trustworthy because Namir disagreed with him, and Namir sacrificed himself for us. Like I'm in the right here, guys.
I feel like not being trustworthy is not enough reason to die.
That would be a heck of an interesting conversation to have.
Situation. I'll be like, you know what? We can't trust him. Let's kill him.
And
Alright.
he has a big house.
That's true. Richard, did you remember, or do you want me to give another one?
Yeah, it's gone. It flitted away.
It's gone. Completely gone. All right. So, also between the last Q&A and now, there's been a lot of exposition between the last one and this one. Because before, the last Q&A was mostly Death House, and then you guys kind of get out of it immediately. So there's been a lot more understanding of the world, or I say a lot more than what you had previously, which was next to nothing. So one of the, I guess, presumably pivotal things that you guys learned about going back is under the assumption that, let's just say Namir's being truthful and talks about the seven specifically is what he called them. Learning about something existing like that and it being ominous and foreboding and this type of thing. Where did that kind of put you mentally in the universe and how it's working so far?
Oh, it got me
My first thought
excited.
was
Excited to see where everything goes with the story, and considering how I assume each of our backstories are similar to the extent of they're all somewhat dark. I haven't looked at any of your character sheets, so assuming like you put your backstory on the sheet itself, so you could reference it whenever during the session.
Even if they did, I don't think anybody can see each other's notes.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I put mine on my character sheet just so I could reference it during the session if needed.
Apparently,
Yeah, you can't see each other.
everybody's had to deal with somebody dying.
Except for Mark, apparently, based on what's
That's
going on.
the
That's
most
the-
interesting one I find because I'm kind of in the know with Mark.
Mm.
Yes.
That one I find very interesting because I'm like, do we believe it or not? Because I don't believe it at this point.
I'm
Really?
Oh,
Billy
okay.
doesn't believe it.
based on what I've given to Elbreth. I didn't give any backstory stuff other than a couple extra like fears and whatnot that have kind of grown from backstory.
True.
So she still knows almost nothing about the character.
So
Elbreth and Nadar have known each other a lot less than the other pairs probably have know each
Potentially.
other.
that's the
Like
beauty
we
of
met and we
it,
did it.
because that is the beauty, because it was kind of up to you as individuals to sort out how much you wanted to know about each other. But
Yes.
Richard, I know you were getting ready to answer, so to the same initial question.
my first thought when you said that about the seven and me as a player, I was thinking, crap. So we have 7 boss fights before Strahd. What's my first thought?
Nice.
That did cross my mind.
It's like, yeah, so we got to get through the roadblock that is Gascoigne here.
Oh, I'd never be that mean.
He wasn't that hard.
It's not in the game. If you ever try to speed run, oh my gosh, that's the worst. Because you go there with nothing. Oh man, it's just awful. That's some Bloodborne references for anyone who didn't know. So, yeah, Bex or Jay, same question.
I think it was a good introduction to the idea that there are some powerful people in this world that we're gonna have to deal with
Mm-hmm.
or avoid if we can.
that the same thing that like Mark was thinking, or is that just like a J type of?
That's probably me as a player. I think
Okay.
it was good. For Miller, his mindset's probably like, I mean, the way it was introduced, like these guys seem really powerful,
Mhm.
and it's not that Miller doesn't mind dealing with powerful people, but he would rather not fight powerful people because he'll probably lose, and he knows that about himself. He's not a murder hobo. He won't actually try to kill people.
Yet. give it time.
Give
It's
it
It's
time.
the D&D way. Bex, same question.
So you say what the original question was again, and like just more simpler. I feel like there's a lot of words and I don't remember what the question was.
It's fine. Just hearing about the phrase "the seven" and kind of getting to hear a little bit about the ominous nature of that, or the power of it, or whatever. Where did that put you in the mindset? Because you guys were learning the world, so that was kind of some of the earliest information that you got. Really, was that this exists here. So, like as a player or as a character, where were you kind of at when getting that type of information?
I don't know. It was just there. I don't know. Like Alberth is still just like confused and has no information, and Becky's just like expecting spooky things, and there's some more spooky things. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's information, but I haven't done anything with it. So,
Which is an answer. I mean, it's perfectly acceptable. Because
yeah, I guess I was gonna say no change, but I guess it's not no change. It's like no effect overall. Yeah, like it's information, so that's a change. But no, like the outlook, the understanding is still the same. I don't know.
right, which is understandable because you really only heard mostly via word of mouth. You haven't really seen, because even though you did have one of the seven there, he didn't really interact with you a whole lot physically, aside from Nadar. Nadar did get one interaction with it, but your characters were not witness to that. So I don't know how that would relate. And I don't know if Nadar will ever relay that information or not. I'm not sure how that'll go. But we are getting towards the end here, so anyone in chat, if you do have any more questions to ask, this is your kind of your last call, because we're getting close to the cutoff point where we'll be losing lava to the internet. And even though like the cameras won't move around a whole lot, we just want to kind of be fair and don't want to keep going after we lose our buddy. So yeah, last call for questions. And while we wait for any of those, did any of you have any extra questions that you wanted to throw out, ask to each other or to me, or about the campaign or anything?
What's been your favorite part of the campaign so far to run?
My favorite part or my favorite part to run?
Your favorite part that either you can. I'll let you pick because I've already read through like the whole book, so I already know some. I know like the basic book stuff that you haven't changed.
Right, but if you've read through the book, you know that I'm doing a lot that
Yes, I've noticed.
is not in the book, but it's in other books potentially. And then there's also some stuff that I've made up. So I will tell you, the 7 is of my own machination. So that's nothing to do with books. But
yeah, that's what I'm most excited to find out about right now.
okay, my favorite as just a spectator so far, and I will probably continue to bring this up. So this is on you, Jay. But jumping out of a window with your pants on fire is probably going to be on up there for a bit, just because how off guard that took me. And I'm all here for it. That was hilarious. My favorite to run, it goes back to one of the earlier questions. I love the roleplay aspect of D&D. I don't think I'm good at it, but I love watching you guys do it. So even if it's instances where it is me like being Idris talking to Zyle in a dream, just getting to as much as I can somehow be out of that and then just watch Richard interact as Zyle and have that type of roleplay interaction, or Jay doing Millard where he's talking to his brother, or Nadar in his dream, and Elberth. Like, I love all that stuff. Like, we're just getting into the story and the character and the roleplay type of stuff. That's by far my favorite. And we try to go hardcore into the cinematic feel as much as we can.
I'm excited to be able to give a little bit more of Nadar's story.
I was really excited to hear. Oh, not excited, but intrigued, I guess is a better word, when you had the flashbacks sequences. Because it seemed like you were changing our stories that we had written a little bit to kind of fit the narrative, and I thought that was a really good job.
Right. Yeah, I try really hard not to change it too much. I want it to be most of whatever you have, but there's a few things just like, just add this little nugget in there to give cohesion to everything.
I will say the one thing I imagined a little more with my backstory was I wasn't in like a town. The town was outside just to give a little bit of world building to the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually like in the mountain itself, being a dwarf.
Nice.
Admiral Thumbs says, Lava, you're not supposed to read the campaign book.
It's like reading the leaked script. That's an interesting question from Hant. Do you ever get what is the D&D hangover?
No, because we go to bed right after.
I try to, like, Richard, when she says that, is she saying that as like the good thing, like you've had like a crazy, like a beautiful experience, and you're just kind of like drained in all good aspects?
Yeah, that's
You were wiped.
She's got an explanation there too, but like, yeah, that's and that whole next day, I noticed because playing with them, it would be long, 6, sometimes 7-hour sessions, and the whole next day, I'm just kind of sitting at my desk, like, just wiped mentally from all that mental exertion and the super social aspect of it.
Sure. Which is like the opposite for me, because that's just like extrovert heaven. It's like more.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I'm like that, but I'm only like that online.
Yeah, I mean, like, reading that, I'm like, well, that's not, like, specific to D&D, just any, like, social interaction, and it's the opposite, probably more like YouTube bit, where when I get off of this, I am so hyper, and I don't go to bed, right, because it's earlier for me, so I still have time, like, it's starting to get later, but, like, the sun doesn't go down till, like, 10 in the summer, and so usually I go to walk after, and still, like, I still have time to go take a walk outside because I'm just like, I need to burn off this energy. I get so hyper from playing D&D. Like,
I'm that way with social interactions, period. And Richard can
get
vouch.
Home from like a party or just anything. I'm just like...
Richard can vouch for this. This is not just online, like just with gaming. Like when I go over there with them, like I'll freaking talk your head off all night long until you eventually, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta go to bed. I'm like, okay.
It's like, dude, I need sleep. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll let you be, but like if you don't cut me off, we're gonna keep talking because I'm having a grand old time all night long. Did Lavas give us a lovely pose? I think he did.
Yep. I would also say it's not normally a hangover. It's normally like a little writing session time where you can take and decompress and be like, okay, here's what I've got planned for next week, and then I'm ready. Bye, Lava.
Bye.
Hope you find your dad.
Hope you find your dad. That makes sense. I get that. Let's get any last call things here, and then we'll wrap it up. Make sure I didn't miss any.
Yeah. I guess that's the benefit of having short sessions. Is there's only a few things you got to keep track of at any time. You have plenty of time to take down notes.
That is very true.
Between sessions.
That is very true. I don't think we missed any. So we'll say last final call to the players. Did any of you guys have any last things you wanted to bring up or ask about the campaign, or say what you've enjoyed so far, or anything?
I've enjoyed the campaign so far.
Or I'll be more specific so you don't have to think of it. So someone asked me what my favorite moment of the campaign was so far. So I think that's a good question to ask. So just in general, what's your favorite moment of the campaign so far? You got 10 episodes to choose between.
I think Millard's flashback sequence with his brother. I just love that. That was so great.
Mm-hmm. I'm
I was also
excited.
going to say that. It was really interesting to play, and it was actually really challenging because it was like, I didn't know exactly where you were going because you did differ a little from what I told you. And I was like, okay, Millard's background. I'm trying to intake all this information of what I do know, and trying to play that out was really, really fun. Yeah, because it was almost like a problem-solving thing. Like, what information can I get out of this character who I think is my brother?
All very fair points.
Yep.
Yeah. I love interactions like that. Like, I don't... I find it hard what to do at a DM because, like, it was so much fun just to watch that. Like, the nature, like, the internal nature it desires, like, yeah, we just do the exact same thing and make it happen again. But you also don't want to try to, like, you know, repeat and do something twice because it's not the same. So I got to figure out ways to be creative and give more time for something like that to happen without it being a carbon copy, which should be interesting. But I love everybody's backstory, honestly. They're all very good and very unique and have a lot of room for some cool stuff. Because likewise, I love the Millard interaction with his brother, and I also love the Zyle interaction with Idris was really good too.
It hurt me a little bit to play through. I'm not gonna lie.
It would hurt you a little bit.
It hurt me a little bit to go through that one. Like, it was too soon.
Idris, too soon.
Rip, my boy. Yes, very sad. Anyways. So,
God.
Beck, same question. What's your favorite moment from the campaign so far?
Yeah, I liked all of the flashback parts, and I really liked the everyone against me on the last episode. I normally don't like play versus player stuff, but like that was different, so it was actually a lot of fun. But like all the flashback stuff and like dream stuff, I really liked because like I'm really anxious to get in. Like I feel like we barely just like entered the first page, but then it's also like this other like background stuff's nice to kind of like lay groundwork of the characters. So yeah, it's like even though I'm like anxious to be like, come on, let's go, like we're barely into it, but it's just like, also it's like no, but I liked all the flashbacks. So.
Right. And I go back and forth on that because in some regards, I think your stories are what matters a little more than Barovia's story, but obviously we want to integrate plenty of that too as we go on. But I love hearing, like, there are times where I'm very tempted just to like, okay, your guys are at a campfire and you can't go to sleep and you got to talk for 2 hours, go. And then just sit back and just listen to you guys have at it.
Because like it's right, like it's not just about like Barovia's story, because then anyone could just like read a book, like read the or something like. But it's kind of like the characters reacting to Barovia, that story. But then in order to fully appreciate that, you kind of need to know who the characters are. And so like it's more like it's like we want to go, but like it's more impactful how people are reacting to things and interacting with each other when you know who they are and where they're coming from.
It's worth noting too, like that's how we've all agreed to play D&D. Because some people do play D&D like more of a video game. Like, I'm here to complete the story. Like I built a character to get through the story and finish it. Whereas we all have agreed it's really more about that type of interaction. Our characters are in this world. How are they going to act? What are they going to do?
And
Which is also all like, and then different people also play it different ways. So like, you know, that other way is a valid way of playing too. But yeah, it is that way.
And I said that halfway joking, but let's be honest, don't be crazy surprised if one episode I do just, all right, you're here, talk. And I just sit back and let you guys go because it's great to watch. And
I also wanted to say on Elbreth's backstory, flashback kind of thing, that was a very well done combat flashback where you had designed it really well and got us all to kind of understand our characters. And I thought that was a really smooth, fun way to do a backstory.
And I told, was it Richard or someone else? Because I didn't tell anybody what was happening. I gave Bex just enough to semi-prep, but not enough to know what was going on. Because I wanted it to be completely unexpected and everybody be in that same mindset and go off the cuff. And for what it was either Richard or someone else I told, was like, honestly, this is a risk. Because this could easily fall flat on its freaking face. And everybody's like, I'm having to do a character sheet I'm not familiar with. I hate this. This is nonsense. This isn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. And like, it could have, easily gone the opposite direction. But thankfully, it was just a madhouse of fun, which is what it was intended to be. And then Richard got to do a Scottish accent, and then Jay added some dialogue to that character, which is what I wanted you guys to do. Is like, just feel free to add stuff to it. It's a dream sequence. It's like no holds barred. Just have fun with it, and that keeps it from. Because I also knew that I wanted to do both Nadar and Elbreth's kind of stuff there, and I was like, okay, if we don't find some way to get you guys interactive, you're just sitting there watching the whole episode, which some people are okay with, but for the whole 2 hours, that seems kind of unfair, So I was like, how can we possibly do this? Oh yeah, just try and kill Elbreth. Great, here, have at it.
Because I mean, that's really fun as a player. So you're like, okay, just try to kill this thing.
Yep. And that was it. Like, don't even overthink it. You try and kill it.
It's like for the rest of the party, it's like a mini rogue-like experience because you're just like you're throwing these random characters, random powers. See what you can do.
We all kind of looked like, wait, really? Okay, and then we just dove right into it.
There was like no hesitation.
Let's do this thing.
Again, like you were always like, yes, very sad. Anyways, time to die. You got to have, like I said, and then we have the beauty of Richard doing Irish accent and Elbreth just backslapping a bunch of people with ridiculous damage, and Jay doing his stuff, and then what was one of the funny things that happened through all? I mean, there was so many different random things. You had Liam.
Nobody could hit anybody.
Everybody's had bad dice rolls early, and nobody can hit anything.
Like, I'm just gonna cast spells at this point.
This will be fine. And we have SJ's new battle cry, aka Meep, came out of that, which she had the perfect response to that. It was like, never good advice, although I don't mind if you do it, but good advice. It may not be the best idea. I was like, yeah, DM, I'll just let you do it. I'll make you regret that.
Every time.
What she does is like, what was her response? She's like, I deserve that. I was like, yep. Don't put it in the hands of the DM unless you want it to be ridiculous. Every time. But I think that, and then last comment from Dirk to compliment kind of Jay and Richard on what we were talking about is, I'll just read it. He says, that was a great episode between Millard and Zyle's flashback and Idris showing back up. That is where I think I started falling in love with the series on top of all the antics. Which I could see that for a lot of people. That was a very big growth episode in terms of a lot of like anchor points to backstory stuff.
There's also the aspect of sometimes we don't know why these flashbacks are happening or what's the exact cause.
True that. That's a whole other thing.
In the previous campaign, I tried to make it very clear why you were receiving flashbacks.
Right. In this campaign, I tried to make it very unclear why you're receiving flashbacks, which is the intent right now. So it's fine. But yeah,
But it's another puzzle to figure out, so it's kind of fun.
for sure. And don't ever presume that we're done with them, because we most certainly are not. There's plenty more times to be hurt emotionally. Plenty more times. And it's a coming. But guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for our second Q&A episode. I love these things, personally. These things are a lot of fun. We get to just sit back, chill. Like, more than anything, even if we're just randomly just shooting off things that are completely unrelated, we're actually getting to talk to you guys a lot, which we don't get to do as much during the normal episodes. So that in of itself is just a lot of fun. Just finally getting to sit back, relax, don't think anything about other than answering chat and just talking about D&D and random other stuff. It's a lot of fun. And we enjoy doing it, and we're going to continue doing these. I don't know the frequency of what we're going to do these yet. That's kind of going to start to probably expand as we go. I think every 5 episodes is a bit much. That just kind of is how it worked out this time around of pacing and things. But we'll definitely keep continuing to do them because they're a lot of fun, and it kind of even I dare say, at least as a DM, it kind of helps me like get grasps on certain things, just being able to talk it out or listen to some of your guys' thoughts and different things. It helps me work that part of my brain that sometimes I need to like expand and think about from different viewpoints. But so it's a lot of fun. So guys, last call. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to chat before we sign off and call tonight?
Hope everybody's enjoying it. We're having a great time.
We hope.
Having a great time, feeling awful and feeling sad. But as much of a great time as you can in Barovia, hopefully. That's the best thing about this group is like episode 9 is a great example. Like Barovia does not have to be pure sadness and dread the entire time. It can be a complete laugh fest as well. You just got to step back, rob a mercantile, get hit on by a girthy lady, have a monk go talk to a table she shouldn't, a few other things, light pants on fire, jump through a window. It's fine.
Freak people out with sorcery.
Yeah, well...
It's just another Tuesday, right?
No shortage of options in that episode. That was great. But I'm going to say that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. So we're going to go ahead and close this chapter of the Q&A episode. If you were watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Hopefully it made some sort of sense. We tried to talk out the questions we were answering as best we could. If it didn't, I apologize. But, is what it is. But we'll be back on pace next week as we pick back up in episode 11 of Curse of Strahd as we continue to go further down. But as always, until next week, goodbye. We love all you guys. Thank you for stopping by and look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Hands blood.
Bye.
Hands blood.